Alrighty, what's going on, everyone? Happy Monday and welcome to the throw-in here on the TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel. My name is Justin, and I'm excited to be with you guys. A little later program on, I guess it's been happening more than not, but you know what? I got to get a program in today. It is, we got a lot to talk about. Post-NFL draft, WWE draft is kicking things off, and it's nice and raining outside. It's been like that all day, wherever you guys are at. Hopefully it's nice where you guys are at. And if you guys are in the Kentucky, Cincinnati area, please get home safely, because this is not the end of it. It's supposed to be like this all week long. And I'm super, super depressed, I guess, to say the least, because you know what? I mean, it's May. It's the 1st of May, and we got a lot of things to talk about here. May 1st of 2023. What's on our agenda today? What are we going to talk about? Well, here's what I have in store for you guys today. We will give you guys playoff updates with the NBA and the NHL. We will also give you guys local updates of everything that happened around Cincinnati over the weekend for Cincinnati sports teams. And I want to we'll get into NFL talk here in hour number 1. We'll get into the upcoming series between the Reds and the Padres, expected to begin tonight, more of a later show time. So we'll get into that. I want to talk to you about some great performances out there from Nick Senzel. But then in hour number 2, we're going to get a lot of conversations in regards to the WWE draft. What do you guys think of it? I'm going to be honest with you. I was a bit disappointed in everything that transpired back on Friday, and I don't know where to begin, you guys. To be honest, I'm flabbergasted. Paul Levesque promised, saying that there are going to be some big changes, and I really took on to that promise. And so far, we are being let down and disappointed, and I don't like it. I really don't. But before we do anything, a couple of things we want to go out. We want to go ahead and congratulate Carmella and Corey Graves. Okay, that's what we need. Want to congratulate Carmella and Corey Graves. For people who are unaware, Corey Graves are in the WWE. Corey Graves is a commentator, a former wrestler. He got hurt down at NXT years ago, joined the commentary team, and ever since then, he's kind of been the forefront of the commentary team for Monday Night Raw. For Carmella, she's been in and out of action, kind of came up through the NXT system about a decade ago. She was also someone who, kind of helped this new generation of women's wrestling achieve. Well, they posted out earlier today that they are pregnant. They're expecting a child, which is kind of a coincidence. They're expecting in November, and it's just like, okay, because we're expecting in October. And, it does sum up a lot of reasons why she was not in competition over the last few months. Yeah, I know the buildup was supposed to be Carmella, and it was also supposed to be Chelsea Green, who originally was supposed to lead up to to be the tag team at WrestleMania of Chelsea Green and I'm having a brain for Sonia Deville. So congratulations to them. Wish them the best of luck. A healthy pregnancy from Carmela. And that's a big thing. You know what? We've seen women step away to have start a family, and they're, in my sense, I think it's easier for a male wrestler to say, all right, let's start a family, because it doesn't really alter their career path. They go on and they get they're having a child, they could wrestle throughout those 9 months, compared to females who really put themselves at a halt for almost practically a year. And and then they go through the stages of pregnancy, and then they have to go through, all right, what do you do after the fact? You have to get kudos, tremendous kudos to people like Trish Stratus and Becky Lynch, and anyone else who's out there who has have children and had to step away because of the child, and then to come back. That's just something that is not done often, and where you're seeing done more often. But it's, I think, because it takes a toll. I know you go out there and you fight, and you still, you stay in shape, but there's a difference between being physically in shape to being in ring shaped. I mean, we've had this conversations numerous of times. So, but all of our congratulations go out to them. Can't wait till the child comes. The Bella twins have had it, and it's an exciting moment. They make a really good couple, and I can't wait to see what happens in the forefront. All right, before we get anything started, let me go ahead and do this. We're going to share the screen with you. Open up in the new tab, because we got something to show you up in the web page here. Took me all day to do this while the weather was down and while we were having complications with the internet and whatnot. I kind of want to show you this. So, believe it or not, hold on 1 second. All right, there we go. I mean, I'm kind of delayed to this, and I thought I'd figure out all better. All right, so we're going to show up here. Something I've been working on all day is that we actually have now a number one source to go through. Uh, yeah, we actually have a web page which has probably been well over a year since we have been interested about this. And basically, every episode that we do, every shorts that we do, any type of content that we go out there and produce is right here on this web page. And I recommend you guys checking this out. And I think this is kind of unique. I'm always been about what I can do to advance. I'll be and how I can grow the brand here, the Throw In, aka the TNC Sports Talk channel, branding and whatnot. And a web page has been something that I've heard about quite often, and we get a chance to finally get that opportunity and have a web page ourselves. So I like to share it with you guys. Here's our home page. You could check out all the episodes. There's the videos. We'll get into that. Here's the introduction to our page that may change. Contact information. If you guys want to get impart, leave us your comments and your questions and whatnot. You could definitely hear about getting back onto this program. Any future guest list, reach out to me. This would be our number one contact page here if you wanted to go down the road. Here's leave a voicemail for us, and we'll get to the voicemail. Has our has our pages, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, that you could search by, contact. And I'm just kind of seeing this on your end for the first time, and it looks completely different. Want to thank I do want to go ahead and shout out and thank Podpage for all this. I kind of was looking through a couple of different website builders, and this is, you want to send us a message directly, your name, your email address, a message. If you want to be a future guest on our show, let me know what you guys want to talk about, a little bit about your background and stuff like that. I, immediately reached out to some of our good friends out there, and said, hey, let me get you on here. So fill out the contact information. Um, they have the audio platforms. So we'll get to that in a moment. But we have, like, today, for example, this episode is going to be aired right now. It's watch on YouTube. You can watch it directly on YouTube right now. We have all the other previous episodes if you wanted to tune in and watch us. Or guess what? You want to go ahead and find every episode audio wise and maybe listen to us, tune in on, listen to us. The edited versions, great. Episode, here's the page. Here's the last episode as of last Friday. It's hopefully going to load. Computer's kind of, I guess, slow. There we go. There you go. You could, all of our sharing techniques, you could share it every episode. All the places that we offer our services on audio platforms, thanks to Spreaker. I mean, and then, all that good enough information. And then you could follow us on all these audio platforms. I think this is a great start to what this program is growing, is taking the next step, trying to grow, be out there and attend to audiences and getting people to listen to, especially stuff that is potentially coming down the road. I've seen people, they create things like this, and it's exciting. I like it. And, I've always just like, how do I get myself in there? So, great opportunities. I so far so good. I'm liking it. Hopefully I could do some more as we learn about the page, and there we go. Great stuff. So if you guys want to head on over to our webpage now, I guess head on over to www.tncsportstalkshow.com. That is www.tncsportstalkshow.com for more information, and I will provide a link up in the captions and down below as well. So bear with me on that. All right. So we have a busy episode today. Weather kind of took us down a different path. And, and then a couple other things also took us down a little path. So what can we expect on today's show that we want to really talk to you about? Well, we will be talking about the WWE, and I feel like that is our number 2's conversation mainly. Okay, but other than that, we got our normal stuff that we normally get to. I want to give you my insight into this NFL draft, because we are all complete. All right. The weekend of 200 plus players gets drafted. Some of them didn't. Some of them did. Okay. And I want to know, what did you guys ultimately think? Did we win? Did we lose? Or it's kind of a difficult topic to have, because you don't, I guess one of the problems that you run into is that a lot of these players, you won't know if that draft won or lost until you're 2 or 3 seasons into it. And half the time, a lot of people forget about who was drafted back in 2019. So I would figure out if the Bengals lost or won the draft, particularly, and this may be something that we'll have to do later on this week, but did they win or lose the draft based off of 2019, 2020? But the players are set. I think we're going to look at this here after we get back from break, but some of the grades that they marked down for the teams, especially as I'm looking into the AFC South, I want to kind of analyze and see, did we really attack what we need to attack on? Because I said at the beginning of this draft, I said that the Cincinnati Bengals needed to what do you want to best put it? The Cincinnati Bengals needed to a draft defense. All right. I think that was the number one key concept for the Bengals this year, just because of how big they were hit. All right. With losing to not one, but both of their safeties. And, Joe Burrow is always capable of, adjusting and learning new things. And that's what makes Joe Burrow so unique and so special. But I think we really needed to give the Bengal or Joe Burrow the opportunity. I think he can go connect to one-on-one with Jamar Chase and some of the other guys out there offensively. But it was a good defense because our defense really kept the Bengals into a lot of ball games last year. And so it came to a shock for us, at least to me, that Miles Murphy was the first round pick for the Bengals, 28 overall, out of Clemson. But then we start going down the list and we see a cornerback, DJ Turner from Michigan. Then they picked up in the third round safety Jordan Battle from Alabama. They grabbed a couple receivers, Charlie Jones from Purdue, and then Andrea Iosivi from Prince. And I apologize if I butcher those names, I guess. Then we see, but then we see a running back for Chase Brown, and I was like, that's kind of interesting to see. We also picked up a punter, Brad Robbins from Michigan. And then we finally, in our seventh round, pick number 248, we picked up cornerback DJ Ivy from Miami, Florida. So, I don't know. This is an interesting topic, and I think we definitely need to pay attention to this. And we will talk about the NFL draft winners and losers coming up next after our break. I want to thank everyone for tuning into tonight's program. If you guys want to get involved into the conversations tonight live during the podcast, head on over to our comment section in our YouTube page. Be sure to hit those like, share, and subscribe buttons. Don't forget to follow and have those notifications on so you don't miss a single episode. For the guys and girls, men and women out there on Facebook, Twitter, thank you. Hit that like and share with a friend. Let them know, hey, we're live right now for the next 2 hours. And if you guys are listening to us on audio podcast, we want to thank you and welcome to the throne. Well, it is a gloomy Monday afternoon, but you know what? We're going to make the most of it as with Monday Night Raw and the continuance of the WWE draft continues. Join with us, getting you guys ready for the WWE draft continues and all that stuff plus more right here on the program. All right, we're going to take a time out, come on back, and let's talk more sports. You guys are listening to The Throne right here on the TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel. Inside your bedroom, we stopped counting the days lost in the rhythm. Physical silence, no need to speak a word, let you beside me. No one ever to fast. Alrighty, 622 here on the program. Want to give a big shout out to our friends over at StreamYard, the proud home of the TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel, where you can create your podcast, videos, host virtual business meetings, and even conduct interviews. Check out the free version today at StreamYard.com. All righty, just getting underway here on a Monday afternoon. Hopefully, everyone is getting home safely wherever you guys are at. All right, I just went down into our YouTube page and was able to upload the website or entered in the website under the description below. So if you're on our YouTube page this afternoon, check out our new webpage that will have all the videos, all the podcasts. We'll be doing blogs, contact information. Let us know what you guys think, any sports topics and stories. You might find them here on the program today, but it's a new, unique, exciting step that we're taking into the 2023 year, trying to grow the brand a little bit more and still hopefully, more things eventually to come. One goal that I'm trying to do is get to 3,000 followers on TikTok so that I can actually go live on TikTok through the PC. I don't want to go live on my phone because I do use my phone. I have stuff on there. I just don't want to use the battery of my phone to go talk live while I'm doing a podcast here. So I really want to use the PC and I would like to use it. But I guess trying to use it, you need to have so many followers. And so I'm about halfway there. So hopefully we can continue building. And I know I'm not the greatest at building content of them all, but I'm hoping that we can, somewhat change here down the road. So. All right, tonight we will have the NBA round 2 gets underway as the as the Philadelphia Sixers take on the Boston Celtics at 7:30 p.m., as well as the Phoenix Suns takes on the Denver Nuggets. Denver at 10 p.m. Denver leads 1-0 so far in the series. This is now every team has reached the quarterfinals. As we will see, Golden State and Los Angeles tip off tomorrow, as well as Miami and the New York Knicks. So NBA is just getting underway. Excuse me. Gosh. All right, let's talk about some NFL here on the program this afternoon. Winners and losers. Excuse me. Gosh, my throat is definitely catching a bug in there. But all right, winners and losers of this draft. And my first take, just after seeing this, without anyone's insight or intake, understanding what Justin, knows of the winners and losers of the draft, I have to go on and say that I really felt that the Houston Texans had a really big portion of the draft where I think they finally maybe created an image to identifying what type of football they were playing. Apparently, coming into the draft, they didn't know what type of offense they were going to run. They really didn't know what type of defense was going to run. And, a lot of people will call the Texans crazy because they traded up. They got CJ Stroud in the second pick, but then they traded up to get Will Anderson. I think for most people, most reporters, and it was kind of hard to follow them, but I did, to say that, hey, we weren't, the Texans weren't going to go quarterback route in the first pick, but I really believe that this now marks the stamp of the Houston Texans. Now, I don't quite believe that the Texans are going to go anywhere spectacular. I think that is still going to be withheld of the Titans and definitely the Jaguars. But you can almost be certain that there is a sense of energy lurking around the Houston Texans and saying, all right, now I think we have our two core front guys that we would like to build a future on. And anything that we do from this point on is going to ultimately be preparing for them to be ready. Now, you got David Mills as the current quarterback for Houston, and I guess when you talk about David Mills, does he last another season? I think so. I don't think that the Texans have to rush to get CJ Stroud out there and performing at the NFL level. First of all, the AFC is stacked with quarterbacks. We're talking about Rodgers, Allen, Burrow, Lawrence, Jackson. Now we're also, Mahomes, Herbert, Wilson. And so, there's just every team right now in the NFC seems to have a solid quarterback. And for me, I wouldn't rush CJ Stroud to come and to perform at a quick level if you have a quarterback. And if I would throw Stroud out there when he's ready. And maybe that's not going to be until next year or in 2 years. It's not just when he's ready, but when the team is ready. When the team thinks that they're ready to start throwing out contingencies in the AFC, that's when I say, okay, let's go ahead and do that. Let's pick up all of the marbles. But until then, I say let him learn, let him sit back a year. Same thing with Will Anderson. I think Will Anderson will get the playing time most. But it was majorly important that the Houston Texans went on and started a foundation, started at somewhere, because they didn't just pick up one, but they picked up two. And yeah, they may have overspent and may have ruined the deal that they did last year with Deshaun Watson, sending him over to Cleveland out of this. But at the end of the day, I still highly believe that the Houston Texans had a better off on this trade. You start looking at some of the reports, and they start. Prisco goes down and gives each team a grade at this year, and I'm just going to scroll down, and this is founded on the CBS webpage, and I'm just going to scroll down to the Houston Texans here and see exactly where they believe they were graded at. And I want to read this to you guys. So here you go. So the Houston Texans from Prisco was graded as a B. He said that the best pick was a third-round pick. Tank Dell will bring electrifying speed to the passing game, which will make rookie CJ Stroud a happy man. Dell will be immediate impact player as a return man. Worst pick, it is not the player in Will Anderson, but it's what they gave up to get him. They moved up to the third spot in a trade with Arizona, but they gave up way too much. Anderson better be a Hall of Fame rusher, and I don't think he will be. And then he has a skinny report. They feel like they got two long-term important positions solved here by taking Stroud with a second overall pick at quarterback and Anderson as a third edge guy. I just think they gave up way too much for Anderson. If Anderson is Von Miller, this could be an all-time drat. Well, Dell will be a steal. Stroud has to prove to be their franchise quarterback. Will they think, which they think he can? Center Juice Struggs was overdrafted in the second round in my book. So this is coming from Prisco. And we're talking about the Houston Texans. Did they steal this draft a little bit? Now, he believes that Will Anderson was they gave up. And you know what? Okay, I can see that. I mean, you think of you traded up to secure him, and he's not the only edge guy on the raw. You still got Tyree Wilson. That I think one or two guys, available down the road maybe would have changed some minds. But yeah, I mean, I can see it. And you know what? I think they gambled. The Texans did gamble a lot on themselves, saying, all right, we have to. It's either, we're relying on these one offense, one defensive guy to really be, our team for the next, 20, for the next 3 to 4 years. And I guess that's the question is this the tag, are these your two franchise guys? And at the end of the day, all 200 plus players in the NFL, not a single one of them could be a Hall of Fame guy. You're taking a gamble, and I agree on that. But you're taking a huge gamble, and you got to. But here's a chance that the Texans are taking. Okay, they go give up Deshaun Watson, and I think that was a good move. But now, and you go risk your franchise. But you know what? If this doesn't work, it doesn't work. They go back to the drawing boards in 2 or 3 years. But what the Texans are hoping for is to be able to have these two guys eventually be the star ace out of the team. All right. We talk a lot other winners and losers, and that's something I think we're going to talk about throughout the course of this week. Just pick about one or two teams that could be winners and losers of the draft this past year. But the other thing that we want to talk about is, did the Bengals do enough in this year's draft? And so let me repeat every draft they made. They had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 picks in this year's draft. I'm going to get into it more into the bottom half of the hour here. But they picked up Miles Murphy, DJ Turner in the second round, a cornerback, a safety, Jordan Battle, a wide receiver, Charlie Jones, a running back in Chase Brown, wide receiver, Andrea Iosif, and I apologize for butchering their names, a punter, Brad Robbins, and a cornerback, DJ Ivy. Now, I guess you got to ask yourself, did the Bengals do enough for this draft? And I think, it's so easy. You when you live in Cincinnati, when you're fixated on the roster that the Cincinnati has, and we knew heading into the offseason, there was two things heading into this offseason. One of them was understanding that Joe Burrow needed more help with the offensive line. And I think a lot of that had to do with the fact that the offensive line in the first half of the season struggled tremendously to stay healthy. I think if the first 8 games of the season we had a healthy offensive line through and through, then we never would have had to worry about anything in regards to that last year's playoff run. But we did. So where does that mean? What does that mean for the, this year? Well, I thought maybe entering this draft this season, we would have been fixated on picking up an offensive line. Now, no offensive line was picked up whatsoever. I thought that was quite interesting. So it was what was the second thing that I think the Bengals had to address and had to pick up? Well, we lost Von Bell, right? We lost some really big, decent defensive players. And so I think the Bengals overall, I don't think there was honestly a bad draft, other than maybe you picked up Brad Robbins. Okay, a punter's a punter, I guess so. You're late in the rounds. I get that. And then you got DJ Ivy, which I don't know who much about DJ Ivy. He was picked number 246 in the 7th round. He was graded a C-. But all these guys before them, I mean, I think the only guy in the first 6 picks had to be Chase Brown, the running back out of Illinois. That was the only pick that, in my opinion, really kind of stumped me. Now, this pick also maybe throws a bit for me a speculation and an indication to saying that, all right, because running backs are not that valued. And you knew that Big John Robinson was going to get picked up, or Jameer was going to get picked up early on. If you didn't captivate those two guys, you weren't going to get anyone spectacular, so pick him at the bottom. And I think that's what the Bengals did. But the running back situation and picking up Chase Brown in the 5th round, for me, does, I think, one thing. It puts the fans on notice, saying that we are not afraid of getting rid of Joe Mixon this season. We can replace him. There's still marketable running backs on the market that we can easily replace. So it's either that, or we could try out one of these younger guys. I think would be better off with Joe Mixon. And I think Joe Mixon, with right now everything that is against him allegationally and everything that, he didn't do last season, I think there is a true short leash on him. And, any more mistakes or any more he's not keeping the end of his deal up, they're willing to get rid of him because they just picked up a younger guy to go with them. We're going to talk a little bit more about the AFC South picks coming up at the bottom, is because also now, out of the division, who won the draft pick, right, this year. So we'll talk all about that coming up the bottom of the hour, right here on the Throw-In on the TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel.
Looking back at the good times before it all went down, climbed right up on the hillside, a different view of my life. You left me running on and on, but I don't care, would you let me in? You said goodbye like everything's gone, everything that we could have been. But I know you're my liability. Yeah, I know you're my liability. You say that you're sorry. We turn the page and make up. A broken trust got you haunted. The doubting you was enough to leave me chasing you on and on. But I don't care, I will let you in. You said goodbye like everything's gone, everything that we could have been. But I know
Alrighty, welcome back here to the bottom half of hour number 1 on the program. Taking you guys up until 8 o'clock, getting you guys ready for Monday Night Raw. Still plenty to talk about here on the program and in the NFL. We got to understand, the winners and losers of the draft. What about the winners and losers of the AFC North? And I think that's a busy, quick subject. It's not a quick subject. It's actually a very busy subject to comprehend. So what did we know out of the NFC North, out of each individual divisional team here that plays along with the Bengals? Well, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 players come out of the Baltimore Ravens. 7 players come out of the Cleveland Browns. And then we see 7 players come out of the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I hope that in this venue, okay, according to Prisco on the CBS Sports app, the Baltimore Ravens was given a C+. Right? The Baltimore Ravens, according to Prisco on CBS Sports in the article that he wrote, grading every NFL team on their draft pick, Prisco says it was the first one he really liked. The receiver Zay Flowers for their new offense. New coordinator Todd Monken and Lamar Jackson, which, by the way, signed a contract extension hours before night 1 of the NFL draft. Will come to love this kid. He has the tools to give him the true outside playmaking threat for the next 5 years or so. And we're thinking about this. All right, think about this for a second. Lamar Jackson gets done signing a 5-year contract extension, which is right now picking up Zay Flowers for the Ravens. Has a 5-year contract with the Ravens. You also pick up an offensive line in round 6, which to help protect Lamar Jackson, which would be crucial because the Ravens, Lamar Jackson didn't play at the end of last year because he was hurt. The worst pick, according to Prisco, is that he didn't like the pick of Trenton Thompson, the 3rd round pick, number 86, linebacker out of Clemson. Overall was given a B+ at the moment. He claims that this linebacker is inconsistent. By drafting him, they are admitting they missed the 2019 first round pick, Patrick Quinn, since Simpson will be the replacement in 2024. The skinny report by Prisco, he likes to pick Flowers, but the rest of the draft didn't excite him. It's kind of hard to be excited when you're not in the top, only the first, 40, maybe 50 guys are really excited. You miss out on the second round, pick. And I mean, you picked some average players in Travis Robinson and Caillou Blue Kelly from Stanford and Mississippi. But I think, you picked up Zay Flowers, which I think was essential. You have an offensive lineman. Then you added on a defensive lineman, cornerback, and an outside lineman. And I think, it's all going to recommend how they get played out, how, what things, where things go. You got to remember the Browns are also the other team in the AFC North right now, other than the Bengals, that I think have legitimate shots and chances at being, in the postseason this year. Take a move to the Cleveland Browns here. Prisco gives them a B-, a B+. He loves the 3rd round pick, the defensive lineman drafted in the 3rd round, number 98. Saiki Ika from Baylor. He's big, powerful man who will help the run defense in a big way. He's also better pushing the pocket than people think. He needs to keep his weight in check. I guess that's a personal decision based off of one man's decision. The worst pick he could end up being their best. How? In the fourth round, right tackle DeJuan Jones. If he can't get his weight down, if he could get his weight down, and there's a story of him being close to 400 pounds at his pro day, he can be a quality starter, if not major bust. So basically, Prisco is calling it how it is. Likes DeJuan Jones, offensive tackle from Ohio State, but says he needs to lose weight. Let's take a look at the list so far. The Cleveland Browns missed the first 2 rounds, given to the Houston Texans. Cedric Tillman, wide receiver out of Tennessee, I think is going to be an addition to help Deshaun Watson. Because you know what? Deshaun Watson, although he was a guy who missed 10 games last year, he didn't seem like a bad quarterback. And a matter of fact, I was a bit scared. I thought to myself, all right, if Deshaun Watson could have played all season, what do you think that could have gave the Cleveland Browns an opportunity to be better, for one, against the Pittsburgh Steelers, or two, could have ruined a couple playoff opportunities? You add a wide receiver in Cedric Tillman. You add a offensive tackle, a DeJuan Jones from Ohio State, and they mention weight issues. You know what? Big guys do have weight issues. Right now, I'm dealing with a herniated disc in my lower back, L5S1. And it's a completely collapsed. I'm going to have to go in and do a surgery. Well, this time they're coming in and they want to do a fusion on me. I'm about 290 and I'm 5'10". And a lot of people will say I'm a bit overweight. And in order to do this fusion, the spine surgeon says, hey, you're going to have to drop 30 pounds. And I don't know how, I haven't been 260 in the last at least 6-7 years. You ask me to drop 30 pounds off the bat. You ask me to stop whatever I'm eating. You want me to exercise, but it's a bit difficult to exercise when I'm very limited. But the moral of the point is that there are big guys out there, and especially when you're asked to block. And if he could lose, I say lose, be 350, 330. I know he can probably get it done. Very young guy. I think he would probably be the best pick of this year after we look back. The Cleveland Browns also picked a young quarterback in the 5th round that was rated actually an A talent, A-, and Dorian Thompson-Robinson from UCLA. I figure you don't have, I don't know if he's going to be the next Ben Roethlisberger, but you don't, how long do you have Deshaun Watson? And God forbid he goes out with an injury. I really don't believe that the Cleveland Browns, for what they're given, where they're expected to be at, really doing anything terrible. I think they have some solid picks. I really like what the Cleveland Browns did this year. The Pittsburgh Steelers from Prisco is graded at a B+. Prisco likes the 4th round edge player, Nick Herbig from Wisconsin. He is a perfect fit for that the Steelers want in their rush players. He will be a hit on the outside for their scheme, although some think he should play inside. And you know what? What's great about this, and what's great about a guy like Mike Tomlin, who has a lot of success in NFL players, especially in the draft, he's going to be able to work both ways with them. So, he may play maybe majority outside, majority inside, but when you need him, you can probably count on a guy like Nick Herbig. The worst pick that Prisco thinks, he didn't like Darnell Washington in the 3rd round. We're talking about Darnell Washington. He's a tight end out of Georgia. He just doesn't he just don't. Prisco doesn't think he's a sudden enough, and he has the knee. He has a knee issue. Please put weight on him and make him a tackle. He can be a Jason Peters 2.0. You know what? Okay, and so the thing is also, and I know some teams also, I guess, develop their players this way, is if you're an offensive tackle or you're a tight end, sometimes you learn to play both. There's been plenty of times where tight ends have been asked to come in for more of a blocker than to go be actually someone out there on the field to pick up. And so as much as, Darnell Washington is a tight end, another, yes, you do go add some weight on him. He could play both. You could rely on him. You allow that extra guy on the strong side or weak side of your formation to help pick up the slack that the offensive line brings in. So do I like this trade from Darnell Washington? I don't mind him. Knee issues come from linemen, tight ends. So I think how long will his career run? I guess it all depends how they pick things up. But I think the Pittsburgh Steelers, what I like about the Pittsburgh Steelers is that, they went with their gut choice back in the first round, number 14. They actually drafted up for offensive tackle Broderick Jones out of Georgia. I mean, that was, other than Spencer Anderson out of Maryland, round number 7, which is still a B plus, just as good as the number 14th pick. I mean, the Pirates, the Steelers added a couple good potential offensive tackles that could help Kenny Pickett in the long run. You had Joey Porter, which I like, out of Pittsburgh, and I hate to admit this, but cornerback Pittsburgh, he's going to get a lot of love out there. And I think that was a draft. I think if the Steelers did not pick up Joey Porter at number 32 after the first round, especially since he was still available, if no one picked him up, if the Steelers didn't pick him up, I think they would have really been a bust. It would have been a disappointing what do you want to call it? A draft pick day for the Steelers. So I think that was also a nice, really good pick. Let's jump down to the Cincinnati Bengals real quick before we come down to a break at the end of the hour. Best pick that Prisco has is DJ Turner from Michigan. He's he can fit into a Louis Anarumo's scheme. They're getting younger and cheaper in secondary, which they had to do, which works, which then potentially builds up in secondary, for all the guys that you lose. It's great to have veterans that know what they're doing, but some of these young guys, you got to have the quickness, the speed. Definitely like it. Prisco said it was kind of hard to pick out a bad person. I think he was a bit bummed for not picking an offensive lineman, just like I was. He still believes that they need more help up front. And yes, you already do so. But like I said, I think a lot of that's made up if everyone stays healthy. So that's pretty much for the Bengals' overall flaw in the draft. But you can never have too many big people to protect Joe Burrow, especially how the things go. And that's being said, I mean, maybe you want to say that I'm a bit biased in saying this, but I do really like the Cincinnati Bengals pick. I like what they did early on. They kind of kept it simple, and I think they tried to attack their concerns, and they picked up a solid 4 guys out of the draft this season as starters. Let me ask you this quick question before we cut to break here. Who really realistically won the pick? A lot of people. I'm going to answer that question at the top of the hour before we get to the board. I want to answer that. So let's hold on to that segment for a second. I'll touch base with this at the top of the hour. We'll get to the NBA and NHL previews, talk about the Cincinnati Reds getting ready for a 3-game series against the San Diego Padres, and a triple round Cincinnati, and all the sports that happened over the weekend. Hour number 1 is in the books. Hour number 2 coming up next. Take you guys until 8 p.m. on a Monday. Thank you guys for tuning in. Hit that like, share, and subscribe button, and don't go nowhere. More of the throw-in continues here on the TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel.
About to leave, already packing. Come with me, I'm not really asking. We'll get away to a place where we don't know. About to see the world in action, what we can be. Life with no distractions, we'll get away. This is what we waited for. Take my hand, we'll make it somehow. We can't miss out. I'm done living life with the lights out. Die with my own doubts. Be free with me. Let's go, let's be free with me. Now looking back, eyes on the freeway, Bonnie and Clyde, a classic cliche. We're on the run, this is what we waited for. Take my hand, we'll make it somehow. We can't miss out. I'm done living life with the lights out. Die with my own doubts. Be free.
Alrighty, hour number 2 is given to you thanks to Spreaker, the audio platform of the TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel. Spreaker allows us to distribute our podcast across all major platforms: iHeartRadio, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and much more. If you guys are also looking for a place to upload your podcast, distribute across all major parties, see analytics, and even monetize, recommend checking out Spreaker.com for more information. Big news coming out of hour number 1 here of the program is that the TNC Sports Talk is now on a website. You guys could check all of the episodes, all of the videos, you see all the distribution services and platforms that we're on, and we're only growing. Where the goal is to grow even further. Well, you can see all of that on um, our TNC Sports Talk Show webpage. Head on over to www.tncsportstalkshow.com and see where all it's the centerpiece of all the talent. And I was looking into this and I was determining, all right, I know if I want to grow the audience and grow listeners, I need to create a web page. A lot of good businesses, I would consider this a business myself, have good web pages. And I need to create my own in order for to start growing. And I went through a couple of different websites. I ended up building my website through Page, and this is kind of the center front. I had to go get a domain, which I'm not into. No, I know nothing about, in a sense. But this is the potential start of growing, and I think I like the platform. It allows you to upload the videos and the podcast. It allows you to create blogs. It allows you to promote your sponsors and monetize and do this and that. And there's a lot of unique things that I want to see about taking advantage of. And the way that I see it now, it's also the number one source. If you guys want to contact this show, maybe be a potential guest on the show at a later date, this is where I would send you to. Head on over to www.tncsportstalkshow.com. And if you want to be on a guest, I want to hear what you guys think. Leave comments, leave a voicemail, stuff like that. And I would be able to get to them. This is unique. This is new. Like I said, it's part of growing. And hopefully we can grow together. So I'm excited. Hopefully the people, you guys listen, you guys can get as excited behind me and whatnot. All right. A couple other things I need to do before we give you our final thoughts of the 2023 draft for the AFC North Division. And that is talking about our good friends up in with Enlighten Studios. Now, listen, summertime is coming. We all know it. We're excited to be here. All right. And I want you guys to get out of the house. We got some festivals coming up here in the month of June and July. Kicking things off with the Italian Festival, June 8th through the 11th. Then we got the Taco Festival, not least the Celtic Festival in July, 14th through the 16th. Well, you know what? Sometimes, you get your tickets, it's expensive and whatnot. Well, you know what? Come on out, volunteer, be a part of the fun. Don't miss out because it gets expensive. Come on out and get a part of the conversations, be a part of the group. And thanks to Enlighten Studios, you guys could volunteer. Enjoy the live music. Enjoy the wonderful foods and the beverages. I was taking I was looking online a little bit more of the research about things that are going on. And it's starting to get me excited. And hopefully, if all things go well, that we could broadcast live from these festivals and give you guys an enclosed look. We did it at the Love's Not Enough premiere back in April. And it was fun. I had a great time. But the first time broadcasting live under an environment away from the studio, a lot of things that you hope didn't go wrong went wrong. And so we hope that this time around we can, correct it. I hope I could get people on the program and just fulfilled with fun, exciting atmosphere. If you guys are interested in volunteering yourself, email me or even email enlightenstudios.cincy@gmail.com. That is enlightenstudios.cincy@gmail.com. Email them, hurry up, get those time slots in, and be a part of the fun. Thanks to Enlighten Studios. All right. So final thoughts. My take here. The winners and losers of the AFC North. I would tell you that the AFC North won, that Baltimore Ravens would have won. But as much as I like to consider that they walked away victorious in this draft pick, it's hard to. So I think the failure, the last team, I'm gonna rank this from great, worst to great. Coming in at number 4 is the Cleveland Browns. Now I think that the Browns picked up the players they could with the drafts that they could, but they didn't go get anyone that was mind-boggling. It didn't go get no one that was interesting, got you on the edge of your seats. Like, ooh, wow. So they come in at number 4 for me. At number 3 has to be the Baltimore Ravens. Now, some people will say, well, why aren't the Baltimore Ravens coming at number 1 or number 2 at least? Well, a lot of the reasons why they have had a wonderful quote unquote draft is, let's not sugarcoat it. They picked up Zay Flowers, wide receiver. That's the only offensive help. But the reason why they had such a quote unquote great draft is because, for one, they signed Lamar Jackson, which has been it's been in the conversation for the past year and a half. What's the future for Lamar Jackson? Everything that stumbled back in the beginning of the season when he got hurt, and the reasons why he did not travel with the team to Cincinnati for both week number 18 and week number, in the first week of the wild card. Therefore, he didn't win. These are big weights lifting off the shoulders of a guy like Lamar Jackson. And so for me, this is a big take for Baltimore Ravens. Yeah, signing Odell Beckham Jr., having Lamar Jackson, picking up Ray Flowers in the wide receiver slot. But I mean, yeah, they added some people to the defensive side of things, but that's pretty much it. They were basically average, other than the offensive lineman at number 6 and Zay Flowers at number 1. And yet, he's another guy, but how I think the question is yes, the Ravens are going to be difficult this season, but how difficult are you when you got to face the Ravens? And now, for me, coming in at number 2 is the Pittsburgh Steelers. I don't think they had a bad deal this season, this year. Yeah, you're looking at the tight end losing some weight. You picked up the homegrown Pittsburgh Joey Porter, and then you solidified a deal on offensive lineman and Broderick Jones. For one, you take away from the Bengals, which I thought was a fantastic, smart deal. But for 2, you add an offensive lineman to help Kenny Pickett out. Okay, Nick Herbig from Wisconsin, an edge. Great. I don't think that there's a bad deal at all coming out of this trade. Now, yeah, we'll give into the fact that, hey, you picked up drafts. How many of them are actually going to be starting or even getting the downs? Maybe out of the first year. But I honestly got to say that the biggest win for the AFC North, and maybe this is more of a biased opinion, I'm going with the Bengals at number 1. Miles Murphy's was unexpected, but you got an edge, a cornerback, a safety. You got a chance to pick up a couple of receivers to help Burrow and help Jamar Chase. You picked up, I think, what you need to pick up. There's always room for signing some other players, who didn't make the cut or the draft. You also picked up a running back. Now, I mean, I could have digressed maybe on the running back situation, but I really believe that the Bengals picked up, guys they needed, and they didn't waste around. So for me, the Bengals are number 1 in my books for when it comes down to the draft this year in the AFC North. I think overall, okay, because there are definitely some losers out there that didn't pick up guys that they needed. Okay. But overall, I truly feel that the entire AFC South made deals and drafted players that can benefit their franchise where their franchise sits for this upcoming season. So in a sense, I do feel like all teams won, but it's a bit difficult to see that. We don't just cover the NFL draft. We don't just cover the Cincinnati Bengals. The one probably disappointing thing that we did not get to see out of the Cincinnati Bengals this year, and after especially picking up a couple of receivers, is seeing guys like Trey Tucker or Tyler Scott not get picked up by the Bengals. You look at Trey Scott picked up 133 from the Tyler Scott picked up at 133 in the fourth round by the Chicago Bears, recorded to be an A start. Well, the Bengals at round number 4, they had the pick number 4, 131. They go with Charlie Jones from Purdue, and he's graded as a C. So is there a reason why we didn't decide to pick up a Cincinnati Bearcat instead of a Purdue guy who I think we would have gotten a solid maybe B plus out of? Last season we saw 5 Bearcats get drafted in the NFL draft, but this year we only saw 3. We saw third round pick number 100 from the Las Vegas Raiders, wide receiver Trey Tucker. As I mentioned, in the fourth round, pick number 133 from the Chicago Bears, wide receiver Tyler Scott. And then in the fifth round, pick number 147 from the Tennessee Titans, the tight end Josh Weil. Now, it could have been, it was what could have been if we could have picked them up. But, congratulations to the 3 Bearcats who got picked up in the draft pick. Now, just because there's about 5 players involved from the Bearcats, just because let me see here. I thought I had it. So my Facebook page, my personal one at least. The Minnesota signed Ivan Pace Jr. Minnesota Vikings signed him to a contract deal, a linebacker from Cincinnati. So congratulations to him. And that's how the draft works after it's all said and done. So definitely some fun stuff. Hey, well, tonight we got some NBA action just getting underway here in about 15 minutes. We have the Philadelphia 76ers taking on the Boston Celtics. Tip-off is at 7:30 as the Phoenix Suns will take on the Denver Nuggets afterwards. Denver's leading round 2 quarterfinals in the NBA playoffs, 1-0 over Phoenix so far. So this is how the quarterfinals look like right now. We talked about the Suns, Nuggets, Sixers, Celtics. Miami Heat will play. Miami Heat are currently taking the series over the New York Knicks so far. They're leading 1-0 after a yesterday victory, 108-101. Tomorrow, the Lakers and Golden State. We'll talk a little bit about that tomorrow as they get ready to take on each other. Will be LeBron James taking on Stephen Curry as well. We'll see Miami and New York in game 2 for them on Tuesday. Also coming up tonight here at 8 p.m., puck drops between the New York Rangers and the New Jersey Devils. Game 7. And all said and done, the last person, whoever loses goes home. Whoever wins will stay and move on. So far, the quarterfinals will look like this, which will begin tomorrow. The Florida Panthers will take on Toronto Maple Leafs. Seattle Krakens take on Dallas Star. And then on Wednesday, we'll see Edmonton Oilers taking on the Vegas Golden Knights. I don't know who does, is it not Panthers, but no. I'm going to have to look into that. Who does, I'll have to see who the winner of the, is it, can't think of the name. I'm going to have to look into it. I've drawn a blank. So we'll talk about that of how the playoff runs tomorrow in the NHL. But when we come back, the Cincinnati Reds took a 3-game, took 2 of 3 in Oakland. We'll tell you all about that. Get you guys ready for the San Diego Padres series, which begins later on tonight. We also will talk to you about the local teams, everything that happened locally. ECHL playoffs go. Game 6 is converted for tomorrow. We'll tell you all about that. And the WWE draft that continues. Much more to come. You guys are listening to The Throne. That takes you up until 8 p.m. tonight on a Monday, right here on the TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel. What's going on, everyone? Justin here from the TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel. I want to give a big shout out and thank you to you, the listeners. That's right. Without you guys, none of this is possible. I would also like to take the time and invite you out to our merchandise page, thanks to T Public. Our merchandise page is where you can find all of our brandings from the Throne, which is currently active weekly, to the TNC Sports Talk official brands, to either the prior shows that was part of the TNC Sports Talk Foundation. Now, within all the brandings, you can select T-shirts for both men and female sizes, apparel such as hoodies, kids onesies, kids T-shirts, phone cases, notebooks, coffee mugs. They have a vast majority. This is why I love T Public. And right now, if you spend $80 or more, you get free shipping. And so we want to invite you out to our merchandise page by heading on over to tpublic.com/user/TNC-sports-talk, or even using the QR code up in the right-hand corner. We want to thank you guys again, the listeners, for supporting us, and we hope to see you guys out wearing our merchandise.
I know we only met just now, and I don't wanna freak you out, no. But baby, all I think about is you and me up in a tree, yeah. You whisper something in
722 here on the program. Welcome on back to the throw-in. I'd like to give a big shout out to Epidemic Sound, where you can discover your world-class artists, composers, and bands, find the perfect soundtrack, and give your social media accounts the music they deserve. Epidemic Sound is a royalty-free music link. For more information, check out epidemicsound.com. We also saw Leonard Taylor, tight end from Cincinnati, get picked up by the Jacksonville Jaguars so far. So Cincinnati Bearcats are getting players picked. It's just unfortunate that we don't get to see them get picked up in the draft this year. But it's okay. Because you know what's going to end up happening is that the Bengals are going to go out there, or the Bearcats, these players are going to go out there and make a name for themselves. And their teams are going to be like, oh shit, we should have picked them up. Just like, not to feel salty for the Bearcats and for the Bengals who didn't pick up a Trey Tucker or a Tyler Scott, which were available at the time. And if you would have went for a receiver, would have hoped you would have went for a receiver with one of your own close burst right down the street, literally what, blocks away at Nipper Stadium. Come on. But you know what? Hey, these guys are going to go have careers, and the Bengals, I think, are going to wish they would have signed them. They should have signed them. When in doubt, stick with your hometown, right? Hometown. Wrestling post from Sportscadia Wrestling, Intercontinental Champion Gunther and former NXT UK star Ginny have tied the knots. We wish them, I wish them too, hey, a very happy married life. So, man, you're seeing two guys, a male and a female, great stuff going on there. We'll talk a little more about WWE coming up, but you know what? Hey, listen, let's take a trip around local sports, and I had all my paperwork ready, and then what ended up happening is that they all get scrambled up because I guess I get distracted, right? Or you would so say. There we go on that. Yep. I got those two. And the ECHL players. I think that's all I need. Okay. All right. I think that works. We'll see. All right. Trip around the local Cincinnati sports area here. We have FC Cincinnati, who tied New England back on Saturday. Huge, very regular season play at one apiece at Gillette Stadium. The next game is this Saturday, May 6th at 7:30 at the TQL Stadium, where the FC Cincinnati will take on DC Defenders. ECHL playoffs here continue as the Cincinnati Cyclones force a game number 6 as they lead Fort Wayne Comets 3-2 in their central quarterfinals or semifinals. Their next game will be tomorrow night, 7:35, back at the Heritage Bank Arena. Tickets, I believe, are still available. Head on over to CincinnatiCyclones.com for more information. Around the ECHL playoff positions, the North Division, Newfoundland defeats Adirondack 4-1 in their series. They're going to be taking on Reading as they defeated Maine in a 4-2 series. A South Division here, Florida leads South Carolina 3-2. Their game is tonight. Just getting underway. Matter of fact, a little bit already into the first period. Jacksonville was leading Greensville in the South Division 3-2 as well. Their game is tomorrow at 7 p.m. in Jacksonville. Okay, we talked about the Central Division and the Cyclones. Toledo defeated Indy 4-0. Idaho in the Mountain Division currently leads Utah 3-2. They're home in Idaho. They'll begin today. Tip-off is already underway at 7:10. Alien is leading Kansas City 3-2. They're also playing today. They're already currently in the first period against Kansas City. The college baseball, they call the Cincinnati Bearcats, was on the road and took care of business. A clean 3-game sweep over Southern Florida. Friday, they won in 10 innings, 9-7. Their second victory, currently undefeated in extra innings. Saturday, they beat USF 11-9, and then a 10-4 win on Sunday makes a clean sweep and a 4-game winning streak. Bearcats come in as of today 20-24 on the season. Conference, they are 8-7 at home. They are 10-8, 10-13 on the road, and 0-3 at neutral sites. The next game will be this weekend, May 5th through the 7th, at home against ECU. And hopefully that weather is more formidable. The Xavier Musketeers fell short to the weekend series at home against Seton Hall, dropping the first two, coming back to pick up a Sunday's victory. They move out to 27-17. Conference play is 8-4. At home, they move to 9-6, 17-11 on the road, and 1-0 at neutral sites. The next game is also this weekend at Creighton from Friday to Saturday. Last but not least, we got the Cincinnati Reds, who had themselves a nice weekend series, picking up a series win against the Oakland Athletics on the road. The Cincinnati Reds won back on Friday in a comeback 11-7, okay, as they went on to win Saturday 3-2, and then they fell short 5-4. But you know what? The Reds kept a lot of the games interesting on the weekend. They'll get ready to take on the Padres here in a 3-game series. We'll talk about that in just one moment as we look around the National League Central, as the Cubs, who dropped 2 of 3 against Miami on the road. The Milwaukee Brewers held on to picking up 2 of 3 game series at home against the Angels. The Pirates picked up a 2 of 3 against Washington Nationals on the road, as well as the Cardinals, who got swept in Los Angeles against the Dodgers. Coming into tonight's ball games, Cubs are over in Washington. That game is just getting underway, and then tonight's ball game between the Cincinnati Reds and the San Diego Padres gets scheduled for a 9:30 first pitch. Quick look at the standings. The Pirates currently out in front, 20-9. Milwaukee 18-10. Chicago Cubs 14-13, and those Red Legs Cincinnati Reds 12-16. St. Louis Cardinals 10-19, and that actually concludes the month of April, which is interesting. So I want to keep note of that and see how the Reds play next year. 4 games under 500. They had a tough 20-game road stand, a consecutive streak in this month. 7 games against the Phillies. You had 4 games against the Pirates, 3 games against Atlanta, and 3 games against Tampa Bay, and 3 games against Texas. I wouldn't say that that's a walk in the park. Very, very tough series if you are the Cincinnati Reds. And they managed to pick up 12 wins and not have the worst record in baseball, and they're currently right now above the St. Louis Cardinals. And I think some interesting notions coming out of Cincinnati to talk about, especially over this past weekend, as we saw, but in more to come, has to be Nick Senzel. I think he's a highlight of the Reds' success in the last week or so. We also have to tip our caps off to the bullpen, and we did see a blown win opportunity on Sunday, but I really still feel that the bullpen has been strong. And Nick Senzel, I mean, this is one of the conversations I was thinking over the past couple of days. When you have, how do I want to put this? Nick Senzel, for me, is one of those guys who is on the forefront, on top of my trade block list, right? He's one of those guys that I consider, all right, let me go ahead and see what I could get out for him. And so right now, what's coming out of Nick Senzel is something that I like, because his value becomes greater every time if he hits, with his batting average increasing, with the simplest things that he's doing to win the ball game. And in the sense of the Reds moving forward with this younger, new look, I think it's just time consuming when we could potentially see Nick Senzel gets dealt, in June or July. Hopefully if he is going to get dealt to another team, to a contending team, hopefully he's carrying this hot streak and making a portfolio this year for himself. So we could also, as a Reds fan, get something back that we can utilize at the major league level or over the next couple years. I think it is a bit difficult to have this kind of type of conversation because he is playing so well. He's contributing to the organization and to the ball club. And when when a guy is doing so good, right, doing so well with your organization, it's a bit challenging to sit here and say, well, how can you get rid of a guy that is performing well? And I think that's easy said for Cincinnati because we know, and we've talked a lot about in this month and during spring training, that there's a bunch of group of guys like Ellie De La Cruz, Christian Encarnacion Matt McLean, who are all thriving and ready to come up to the big leagues. And they're, although there are conversations that they're expected to be up in the big leagues at some point this year. And so, there is ultimately, I think at the end of the day, we are preparing for that to happen. But so let's enjoy this time with Nick Senzel while we can. But my case is that, is there, I guess, a chance that the Reds can keep Senzel? And I think the only way that the Reds would consider keeping Senzel in July, and I may be completely wrong, I may be talking batshit crazy when it comes down to, Nick Senzel potentially being on the trade block, especially come July in the trading deadline, because, maybe he's going to be our future center fielder. I don't see that happening. But the only reason why I think that we would keep him is for one of two reasons. One, he is hurt, which I've seen this, but we've already gotten rid of Chad Pinder before the season started. We've already gotten rid of Jason Vosler before the season started. So to see, I wouldn't be surprised if, Nick Senzel doesn't gets hurt, or, he goes into this terrible slump and he becomes nobody to that another team wants. I can see the Reds just cutting ties with him. But what I can also see happen is, the only reason why we wouldn't trade him, I think, is if the Reds can find a way to become in contingency, in the month of July. And he's a huge contribution to that factor. I think if we're sitting here at July, and I know this is a big factor that it's hard to view, but I think that this is a factor nonetheless. If the Reds could see themselves contending in the month of July, and they see themselves, all right, couple games out of first place, and they have actually a legitimate chance at the postseason, whether that's division or wild card, then you're going to see maybe Senzel be the one to contribute to that. But, my ultimate goals for the Cincinnati Reds this year is play 500 baseball, which, if you told me at the beginning of the month that the Reds, under the schedule that they had, they are 4 games under 500, and they're currently ahead of the St. Louis Cardinals, I say, nah, you're crazy. But guess what? They are. And so far, I'm happy. But my goal is to play 500 baseball. And you know what? The second goal I would have for the Reds is not to finish in last place. Right? Especially with all the changes that are projected to have this year, not to finish in last place and not to have a losing record, I think is a winning season for us. Anything above that, right? If they could get into third place, if they could have 85 wins on the season, anything above that is a really good year for the Reds, in my opinion. And I think there's going to be an acceptance of, okay, well, the Reds, you lose, you're 7-10 games under 500. I think, all right, there's an exception to that, but definitely not being in last place. Well, the Reds going to take on the San Diego Padres tonight, beginning at 9:40 Eastern Standard Time, a little later on than expected. The Reds playing a West Coast team here in that factor. The Reds come in tonight's ball game 12-16 and sitting at fourth place in the NL Central. For those Padres, they are 15-14, with the Dodgers ahead of them and Arizona Diamondbacks ahead of them. They currently sit in third place in the NL West. Tonight, the Padres will have Blake Snell taking on Luke Weaver. I think this will be a really good matchup. Luke Weaver comes into tonight's game 0-1 with a 7.71 ERA. Blake Snell 0-4 with a 5.048 ERA. Also, Graham Ashcraft will be getting his schedule for tomorrow to take on Michael Wacha. And then Luis Cessa takes on Seth Lugo on the getaway day before the Reds have a day off on Thursday to come back and take on the Chicago White Sox in a 3-game series at Great American Ballpark. So this is the series. This is a projective pitching schedule matchup for this series. Like I said, first game is at 9:40, available on Bally Sports Ohio. You can also listen to the game on WLW. I know I will definitely probably be going to sleep listening to this game. I don't get on TV, unfortunately. All right. Well, hey, it's time to talk. Let's talk about the WWE draft and what's coming up tonight on Monday Night Raw. Don't go nowhere as the throw-in continues here at the bottom of the hour, bottom of the program, right here on the TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel.
Fan blowing cold breeze on your body. I can't tell you really what it is, but you got it. Makeup in the morning, you got dresses in your closet. But you grab them tights, you in love with being modest. You a move body giving interviews. I'm just saying I'm amused, but you ain't even flexing.
Alrighty, bottom half of the program, getting ready to wrap it up, getting ready for Monday Night Raw tonight. And guess what? Cody Rhodes and Brock Lesnar both in the building tonight as we have the final pit stop for Monday Night Raw before we head into Puerto Rico for WWE Backlash this Saturday. Exciting for all that fun stuff. Matt Riddle will do combat with Jimmy Uso as the Usos fell short to Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn back on Friday for the unified tag teams championships. And we'll also see Judgment Day take on an LWO throwdown in a mixed tag team match. It'll be Damian Priest, Dominic Mysterio, and Rhea Ripley take on Rey Mysterio, Santos Escobar, and Queen Zelina. So we're excited for that. A lot of great stuff. Monday Night Raw will be back again tomorrow to talk all about that. We'll talk a little bit more about SmackDown and what happened and what's moving forward. Well, one of the big conversations coming off is the continuous of the WWE draft. And I think in order to talk about the WWE draft, I think we have to talk about the WWE draft over the weekend. Now, maybe there was a couple of things in my eyes, my book, that I sat here and I was like, hey, listen, I'm getting excited for the WWE draft. For one, the WWE draft was promised to us, promised to the WWE universe, that it was going to be a game changer. Right? We're going to split the brand. We're going to, divide the draft in half. And men, people are going to select. SmackDown and Raw is going to select two different brands. We're going to start thinking about doing premium lives per brand and all that fun stuff that's included. And the thought goes in my head saying, all right, this is warranted because there's maybe guys and females and males coming up through the roster that need that push. Well, a couple of things that got me going. One was that Triple H really emphasized how big this event's going to be and how important we need this change. And a lot of people claim that this is going to be the change of the WWE. This is going to be this Triple H, Paul Levesque era that we're going to finally get to see. Well, I felt like I was a bit disappointed on Friday night on SmackDown. Not because of the show, not because of the product, because of the draft that was promised to us. Now, maybe I was also excited because I got a chance to see the NFL draft the night before, and that was very something, exciting to talk about. But something just did not fit right with me. Maybe it was because, they didn't select a general manager. I mean, don't get me wrong. I liked how the WWE had Team SmackDown, Team Raw. There was a different person that came out. Got a chance to see a Teddy Long, JBL, RVD, Shawn Michaels, Michael Hayes. Great. Fantastic. Loved it. I was a bit disappointed that we didn't have we didn't go with the general manager. We don't have a leader for each brand. I think I need a leader for each brand. I don't want Adam Pearce at the reins for both Raw and SmackDown anymore. I don't care about the draft if Adam Pearce is on Raw and on SmackDown. No disrespect to Adam Pearce. That just doesn't set well with me. I also promoted and talked about a couple ideas. I told you I wouldn't touch with Edge with the 10-foot pole. I wouldn't touch Brock Lesnar or Omos or even Trish Stratus with the 10-foot pole, which they divided. They also promoted that half the roster was going to be eligible Friday night, half the roster was going to be eligible Monday Night Raw. Well, we didn't even see that. We saw 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 people from SmackDown. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 10 guys. So about 30 men and women get drafted actually on SmackDown. So that was a lackluster. And then on top of that, Saturday, apparently, they revealed that over the weekend, they drafted some more. So while SmackDown gets 1, 2, 3, 4 guys on, going to SmackDown, you see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 people get drafted to Raw. And I'm like, what type of fair trade is that, to be honest? And then I saw something interesting, which is new. And I'm like, this is really sparks my attention. WWE has also announced a free agent list. And guess what? Omos, Dolph Ziggler, Mustafa Ali, and Von Wagner becomes free agent. That means, what does that mean? Well, that means they become free agent, and none of this, by the way, gets taken into effect until May 6th or May 8th, whatever, after Backlash. Well, what was disappointing to me is that no one promoted, no one advertised. You had to find this on the dark web almost. Matter of fact, I had an old co-host of mine, Trey. He was the one who texted me saying, "Hey, guess what? On Saturday, he texted me. He was like, "Hey, did you know that the WWE drafted more people?" I'm like, "What? I wasn't informed about this." What I would have liked to see was the WWE promote that on Friday night, saying, "All right, whatever we don't draft tonight on SmackDown, tune in tomorrow. This time we'll do more drafts." Right? Maybe they could be a panel like the NFL draft, where you can expect them to talk about how big the break in. And for a moment, I liked Michael Cole and his commentary skills back on Friday night, because he was trying to say how big of a deal this was for every athlete, on the list. But I just feel like they really they don't really promote their after shows as much. So I don't know. For some reason, this set with me wrong. The first draft from both Raw and SmackDown, with Triple H announced. For SmackDown, they got Roman Reigns, Solo Sikoa, Paul Heyman, which I thought Paul Heyman was an interesting bit to include onto this roster. And then you got Bianca Belair. So you currently have the Raw Women's Champion. But then you see Cody Rhodes and Becky Lynch. So there's technically 1, 2, 3 people for SmackDown, 2 people for Raw. And the reason why I got bummed out instantly is because you talk about this journey that Cody Rhodes had to take. And, he has to take to get back to Roman Reigns. Right now, he can't do a damn thing about Roman Reigns because he's on a different brand than him. So is there a point to even competing this Saturday at Backlash? Because even a victory against Brock Lesnar on Saturday, I think he could do wonders for. But does a victory get him closer to Roman Reigns, which isn't that the ultimate dispute on why he is battling Brock Lesnar to begin with? Because the night after Raw, after WrestleMania, Cody wants to do whatever it takes to get back and to challenge Roman Reigns again, because it wasn't a clean finish. And Roman Reigns had to hide behind the bloodline in order to win a match with, which I'm sorry, kind of I'm fine with that. But you go on and you see Night 2, Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns, and they have this incredible match, and it's Solo Sikoa to cost Cody Rhodes. I'm like, this is such a great match, and you ruined it. And now the night after Raw, you have Cody Rhodes who comes on here and says, hey, listen, I'll do whatever it takes to get a match out of you. Even if that means I have to face all of the opponents that have faced you over the last 3 years, I'll do that. Brock Lesnar is now his first challenger, and I felt like this is the path that you can continue on SmackDown, but I don't see it. Round 2, you see the Street Profits together, which I was surely thought that would see them separated. Edge, which I think just, no disrespect to Edge, you guys, but come on. He's only going to give you, 6, 7 matches at best, if that, on SmackDown? You're already drafting in the early rounds guys that aren't going to be competing as much. You have Gunther, Giovanni Vinci, Ludwig Kaiser. I thought that was a really good deal on Raw. Matt Riddle on Raw as well. I could care less. Third round got interesting because we saw Bobby Lashley, which I want to see this feud between Roman Reigns and Bobby Lashley, but we also saw AJ Styles, Michin, Luke Gallows, Carl Anderson. And right away, you saw that with the Viking Raiders. They had this dispute. They had a match. Great stuff going on. Great to see AJ Styles back in ring action on television. It's been away from a while. I think this is a big push because we're talking about the potential of losing Drew McIntyre. I think if you convince McIntyre that he's going to be in that World Heavyweight Championship picture, he's going to resign. I just think you got to come up with the negotiation price. Would McIntyre consider dropping some money to be in that title picture for a long period of time? And you also see The Miz in that third round as well. So I think Raw did pretty good. And then we saw Damage Control, Dakota Kai, Bayley, Io Sky team up, go to SmackDown along with Bianca Belair for that Raw Women's Championship. So that was pretty interesting. And then we saw Shinsuke Nakamura, Indy Hartwell, which was the first. Matter of fact, we saw Alba Fari and Isla Dawn, the NXT Women's Tag Team Champions, as well as the NXT Women's Champion, Indy Hartwell, head on over to Raw and SmackDown. I thought this was kind of an interesting statement because if you think of, these three women obtaining gold. Indy Hartwell just defended her title back at Summer Break-In. And I'm like, all right, so are they just dropping titles? What's the plan? What is the ultimate goal for them? And I thought, I was like, okay. Like, don't get me wrong. I could see Indy Hartwell come up to the main roster. I definitely like Alba Fari and Isla Dawn come up to the main brand. But to be honest, I was just not kicking it. We see, so I don't know, something set with me the wrong way. And then, like, if I was looking at, you have, Top Dollar, Hit Row staying on SmackDown, Lacey Evans staying on SmackDown, Dex Loomis is staying on Raw, Candice LeRae, I can see Johnny Gargano at some point maybe coming back. Maximize the maximum meld models on Raw. Zoe Starks on Raw. JD McDonough on Raw, okay? Paulo Cruz, Natalia, Sonya Deville, Chelsea Green. Okay. So, I mean, there's Roman Reigns given, Cody Rhodes given, exciting to see Bobby Lashley. Wasn't too care less about Edge. There's just nothing that really exploded out to my attention on Friday night on SmackDown with the WWE draft. And then we see the free agents in Omos, Mustafa Ali, Von Wagner, which is an NXT star, Dolph Ziggler. And I have no idea what the free agents is all about. I'm assuming that means MVP's a free agent. Do they go back and forth between brands? At which point I really care, that's like ruining the whole concept. Or do they get picked up on a short-term deal? This is where I would like a general manager for each brand, because then they can clearly explain that to me, right? besides just seeing it happen. Like I said, you kind of want that competition. So if you have a GM for SmackDown, you get Adam Pearce for Raw, whatever the case may be, you could be like, all right, now they're kind of going head to head, and I would like to see them compete a little bit, maybe headbutt a little bit, right? Stuff that we saw back in 2016, and especially back in 2002 with the original WWE draft. But what was fascinating was that Omos he has a match against Seth freaking Rollins. So at Backlash this Saturday. Next thing you know, what's the goal for him? I don't know. Bit disappointed in the WWE draft so far. We're about to find out if that changes up tonight because we're about to get ready for Monday Night Raw. The final stop to Backlash is tonight for Monday Night Raw. We finished the draft. I want to see what happens. It's a 3-hour program, so I'm expecting to see a bit more. Fair to say. 2 hours of the program has coming down. I want to thank everyone for tuning in and listening to our program. Be sure to hit that like, share, and subscribe button. Don't forget to press on those notifications. We'll be back tomorrow, Tuesday, May 2nd. And once again, if you guys did not know at the beginning of the show what we talked about all 2 hours long, head on over to our webpage, www.tncsportstalkshow.com, where you can catch all the episodes, everything. If you miss anything, it'll be right over there. Plus, we're growing into more. There'll be more stuff added. So, all right, that will do it for our program. We'll be back again tomorrow talking about WWE draft and more professional wrestling and all that good stuff. Padres and Reds tonight and all that fun stuff. Hey, thank you guys for tuning in. Until tomorrow, you guys take care. Enjoy the rest of your Monday night. Thank you guys for tuning into The Throne here on the TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel. Take care.